Hi, I'm Renita, founder of a learning and development company called 10th and Kindle, and I help creative professionals, entrepreneurs, and high performers write out and write off their lifestyle. This is part one of a 3-part educational series titled You Are Uniquely Brilliant. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Whether a friend invited you, whether you learned about it via social media, or whether you received an email, I'll tell you, like my granddaddy used to say, you must be my kind of people. Someone who apparently knows you're uniquely brilliant, someone who's never satisfied with settling for safe, someone who's always striving to do as Daniel Coyle suggests, and that is living on the edge of your abilities. You likely have an abundance of ideas, more than you know what to do with at times, and you're hoping that just maybe one day it'll all make sense. Maybe you'll feel securely centered in your purpose enough to move forward with the kind of passion, the kind of boldness, relentlessness, and confidence it takes to move to the next level in your life. In this first part, I want to share with you some things you must understand about your overabundance of ideas. I'm sure you've heard the question asked before, where is the richest place in the world? And I know just maybe you've heard that the response is the cemetery, because it's the place that many people go with their unearthed riches of ideas. And I know you don't want to live with that kind of regret, right? If you're going to level up and live with no regret, let's look at some things you must understand about your overabundance of ideas. First and foremost, I want to share with you that you may already know this, right? That your ideas are a gift. Your ideas are a gift. And I share that with you because you must understand that both your ability to receive it and the initial transfer of information were both a gift. And so I'll put it to you like this. First, it was entrusted to you. Now, if you're the kind of person that feels like, hey, I run my life, I'm a God, I am God, I'm not getting into that with you, and maybe this isn't the video series for you, no problem. But if you're someone who understands that you are a creation and you are responsible to a force outside of yourself to do something with what's been deposited in you, then you're in the right place. And so I share with you that your overabundance of ideas are a gift, and they were entrusted to you. So you have to do something with them. Then I want to share with you that even your awareness and your openness to receive them is a gift as well. I was reading through some YouTube comments recently, and it literally was on a video about, let's say, like the best videos to start, or the best businesses or most lucrative businesses to start this year. And people were just on that video because they were looking for ideas. That's not you. You have an abundance of ideas. But I want to tell you what someone said in those comments. And they said that if you have an idea, then you're lucky, and be grateful for it, because basically some people are just stuck. They're so stuck, and they can't seem to come up with ideas as naturally as you. And so consider that a gift, okay? So here's the second point I want to share with you, that if you're going to understand some things about an overabundance of ideas, understand that you must get it outside of you. Get it outside of you. There's some ways that you can do that, multiple ways, and I'll share with you 2 ways. One is by writing it down, pen to paper, old school way, right? Then another way, of course, we can use our phones these days, whether you use the Notes app on your phone, that's the generative app, or you use another app like Evernote, which is one that I use quite often, it's a way to get it out of you. And here's why that's important. Because first and foremost, it allows you to see your idea from a different viewpoint. You certainly want to get it out so that you can basically see the gift, like I just shared, that was entrusted to you. Then it also allows others to gain a perspective about what your vision is. Now, of course, when your ideas are fresh and brand new, you don't want to share it with any and everybody. Everybody does not get that kind of access, and it's not even time, right? Until it's time for those ideas to really hit the market, you want to be selective about who you share it with. But for the few people or one or two people you may share it with, writing it out allows them to gain a different perspective about your vision. And not a different perspective, but just a perspective of their own. And they may have some feedback to give to you. Here's another point that you must understand, is that excitement alone does not bring about clarity. Your excitement, listen, I've lived my life being super passionate. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things that people say about me when they meet me or they come to know me. They say, you're so passionate. But I've come to learn the hard way that passion does not pay the bills. Now, I'm not one of those people that's being cynical. Passion don't pay the bills. Don't follow your passion. I think people mean well when they're saying that there is something else that's required, because passion alone, excitement alone, won't bring about clarity. And if you're someone, whether you're a business owner, whether you're in a career, excitement alone also will not bring about the higher income levels that you desire. Not alone, right? So I want to share with you something. Passion is fuel. Remember that passion is fuel. So just like your car needs fuel to move forward, but it is not the only thing that has to be working in your favor within your car for it to get from one light to the next, right? You must, and your passion must take another form eventually. So your car doesn't take another form, but the other thing that moves it forward is the engine. So you must think about that. Excitement is great. Passion is great, but it has to take another form if you're going to get to your very next step. Here's another point I want to share with you. Unexecuted ideas are your cue to take action. Listen, have you ever had ideas that maybe you got them, let's say 3 years ago, or maybe you got them a whole decade ago? What have you done with those ideas? And I'm going to challenge you and ask, did you even write it down? Is it even outside of you yet? And has it come up again? Probably if you're here, it has come up again. It comes up over and over. So what are you going to do in order for it not to drive you crazy? You have to do something about it. And I want to give the example of a parent who's waking a child up for school. What do they constantly do? They may constantly turn the light on. And then the kid turns over and says, just a few more minutes, right? So the parent may turn the light out, go do whatever, make breakfast and all that. Or do something else, come back in 5 to 10 minutes, and the kid is still laying in the bed. And if you're from the South like I am, and maybe you're not, you probably aren't. But many people, at least back in the day here, certainly believed in corporal punishment or the text in Holy Writ that says, like, spare the rod, spoil the child, right? And so many times kids, and this is probably wherever you're from, whether you're in the United States or in another country, like there's some kind of awakening that has to happen for that kid to be jolted out of that sleepiness. And so that's what happens, I believe, when you get a recollection, when you get a stirring about an idea that you've had, it's really a cue for you to do something about it. Because again, if it's been entrusted to you, you have to move it forward. It's not enough to just tell somebody else as if, oh, we'll see. No, what are you going to do? And how will you break yourself out of this sleepless or sleepiness or sleeping giant kind of syndrome that you have going on? Does that make sense? All right, let me share with you the very last one that I want to share in this moment. If you're going to understand some things about your overabundance of ideas, this last one I want to share is that excessive research can be counterintuitive. And number one, before I go deep into that, let me just share my points on that. First and foremost, sometimes overly researching something causes you to compare yourself to other people. And in this day and age of excessive impulsivity with likes and engagement on social media and all the analytics, again, if you're an entrepreneur and understanding Google Analytics and understanding where traffic is coming from, what people are liking and all that, sometimes we become peons, minions, and puppets on a string concerning ourselves with what someone else is doing and what someone else approves of. But I want to share with you that instead, you should use the market to create a benchmark for yourself. And I give the example of myself. I love to cook. And honestly, again, I'm passionate about creative professionals and entrepreneurs. And in that sense, I believe that cooking is just another form of a creative art. And so if I am cooking something that I've never cooked before, what I'll do is I'll research 2 or 3, or actually 3 to 5 different recipes. So let's say recently I looked up white bean chicken chili just to look it up. Something I'd made before, but it had been so long that I forgot. And so what I did is I looked up about 3 or so recipes to see what the common denominators are, and I used it as a benchmark. But I'll tell you that it's very important for you to be uniquely you. You don't want to be vanilla. When you look at the market, and certainly if you're looking for something that seems to resemble the idea that you have, again, initially that's fine, but you want to learn to be uniquely you. And when I talk about counterintuitive, what I really mean is that, again, something uniquely brilliant was deposited inside of you, and you have to be able to sift through the external noise to be able to manifest what it is that you're supposed to manifest in a form that is, again, uniquely who you are. And this is something I've certainly had to learn over the years and continue to learn, that who I am is enough. What I bring to the table is enough. All of my experiences, my sense of humor or lack thereof, everything, the way I speak, the way I get excited, the way I can be serious at times, the way I study, every single thing comes together to create something that someone is searching for, right? So those are some things, again, that you must understand about an overabundance of ideas. So this is part 1 of a 3-part series. And just before I share that with you, I want to tell you that this whole presentation that I'm doing even now, and some of the things that we'll do in the coming content that's coming, I want to tell you that actually the seeds of this started in 2002. And I wrote them down like I just shared with you. And only last year did they really come to full maturation or full maturity. And so sometimes you cannot predict the process of how long it will take But I will share with you, like I said, in future content about how you can learn a framework that helps you still make repeatable, actionable decisions so that you get from idea to implementation without getting stuck with your ideas. Does that sound good? Well, join me in the next presentation, and in the second part, I want to share with you what I mean when I talk about intuition. Intuition has to be developed. So I want to share with you some keys for developing your intuitive genius. See you in part 2.